A lot of people really love conchas, those little streusel-topped breakfast buns that, well, they're everywhere in Mexico. Maybe you had them when you visited there. If you're going to take the time and invest the effort to make them at home, well, I like to start with a good buttery base dough. So I'm going to show you how to make that. It starts like most doughs by proofing yeast. And for this particular one, we're going to measure milk and warm it. Need a third of a cup there. And then put it over the heat, swirling it. It'll just take a few seconds for it to get to about 110 degrees, a little bit warmer than body temperature. Pour it back into the measuring cup. Add the active dry yeast to that. A little bit of sugar goes in. Stir that and let it sit until it becomes foamy. Yeast is very foamy now. I'm going to pour that into the stand mixer. I'm going to first start by adding 3 eggs to this mixture. Turn on the mixer and just let this combine. When the eggs and that foamy yeast mixture are thoroughly combined, start adding the dry ingredients. Very slowly add 1.5 cups of bread flour. Bread flour will give great structure to your conchas. And then add a cup of all-purpose flour. We need a tablespoon of sugar and 2 scant teaspoons of salt. And then keep the mixer going on a sort of slowish speed until the dough looks like dough and it's kind of elastic and smooth. Now the last part of this is to incorporate the butter. And you need your butter, and it's got to be good quality butter, at room temperature and cut into small pieces. Now add them a little at a time, making sure that the last bits of butter have been completely incorporated before you add the next addition. So for letting it rise, you have 2 choices here. One is to put it in the refrigerator covered with plastic and let it rise overnight. The second, if you're a little bit in a hurry, is to cover it with a kitchen towel and put it in a warm part of your kitchen. Let it rise until double in bulk. That should take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours or so. Now, when it gets to double in bulk, you're still going to need to cover it with plastic and put it in the refrigerator for an hour or so just to firm it up so it'll be handleable to form into those beautiful little conchas. To make the streusel topping for the conchas, it's a very simple mixture. But again, it starts with butter, and butter at room temperature just so that it can be incorporated very easily into sugar, flour, and then we're going to give it a little bit of cinnamon, a half a cup of sugar, and then I'm going to put the mixer on and beat them together until they're thoroughly incorporated. Now with the mixer on its lowest speed, I'm going to add a cup of flour to that. You have to add the flour slowly so that it'll all be incorporated. And then the last thing that goes in is a little bit of ground cinnamon. I'm using the Mexican cinnamon here, the one that's called canela. And I'm going to put a tablespoon of that in. Now that everything is thoroughly incorporated, I'm going to put it into a small bowl here. If your kitchen is quite warm, this will probably need to go into the refrigerator to firm up so that you can easily form it and then lay it on the top of your conchas. Double in bulk, Refrigerate it for an hour just to firm it up so that it won't feel oily. And I'll say that at any moment during this process, if your dough starts to feel a little bit oily, then just put it in the refrigerator for a few minutes and firm it up again, and then just continue on with it. A little bit of flour on my board just so it won't stick to it, because my next step here is to divide the dough into 9 even pieces. Now I'm going to start to roll these and form these. Very small amount of flour because I want the dough to stick slightly to the surface. And you'll see it'll stand up beautifully. And one by one, I'm going to roll these guys. Now let them rise till double in bulk, and that should take about an hour, of course, depending on the temperature of your kitchen. And then we'll be ready to put that streusel topping on and bake them. After the dough is risen again, I brush each bun with a little beaten egg. Now, my trick for flattening the cinnamon streusel topping is to use a tortilla press. I grab a walnut-sized piece of streusel topping and I press it between 2 sheets of plastic. Then I layer that thin tortilla-shaped streusel over each concha. Instead of using a specialty cutter like they do in Mexico to make that classic shell pattern, I use a sharp paring knife, slicing just through the top layer of the streusel. I've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to put this in the middle of the oven. It'll take about 25-30 minutes for them to bake. I'll rotate the pan about halfway through.